This is our 4.4 section, laws of logarithms. It also deals with natural logs, same thing, all right? These are the three laws, These are the three laws that are the most important that you are going to really need for this section, and you absolutely have to know for solving, okay? When you have a logarithm, do you guys see, we're going to talk about condensing. What does it mean to condense something? Make it smaller. Good, Miss Carver. What does it mean to expand something? You make it bigger, all right? So if you notice here in like number 1, the left-hand side is what's called condensed. Do you see how it's kind of smushed together? The right-hand side is pulled apart. That happens every time. So you're going to be given an expression. It's going to either say to condense or expand. So if it's already smushed together, you're going to pull it apart. If it's already pulled apart, you're going to smush it together. So what I want you to notice and what I want you to be aware of, do you see how right here, A and B are being multiplied? Yes? And when you pull it apart, instead of multiplication, what do you use? Addition. I want you to remember here that multiplication, I can't spell it, multiplication, goes with addition. So if you are expanding, if you're pulling apart, if something's being multiplied, then you're going to put a plus sign in between it. If you're condensing, if something is being added, then you're going to put them together, you're going to multiply. If you notice, guys, right here, this is 1 log. When you pull it apart, each little piece gets its own. If you started over here on the right and it was already pulled apart, when you smush it together, as long as the log bases are the same, you can condense and expand. So in number 2, what's happening between A and B in number 2 on the left-hand side? It's being divided, right? So when you pull it apart, what do you do? What do you change division to? Subtraction. So in this case, we're always going to try and remember that division and subtraction go together. If you are expanding, division becomes subtraction. If you're condensing, subtraction becomes division. And then in the last one, what do you notice? Anybody see what happens to my exponent? What does my exponent become? On the left-hand side, it's a power. What is it on the right-hand side? What do we call it when it's the number in front? Coefficient. I want you to remember that exponents become coefficients and coefficients become exponents. Now, at first, this is going to be a little like, wait, huh? But the more you practice this, I promise you, the easier it gets. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your problem and you're going to say, am I pulling it together or am I smushing it? Am I pulling it apart or am I smushing it together? And then you think about the operations that go together. So in these first examples, they're telling us to simplify. Simplify just means to make smaller, right? So you guys notice in letter A, let's look at letter A. Do you notice how you have log base 4 and log base 4? Yes? They're the same log. So it's pulled apart. If you were to smush it together, you would write log with a little 4 just one time. And then what would you do with 2 and 32? Since it's addition. If we're smushing it together, then what are we going to do with 2 and 32? Addition goes with what? Multiplication. So when I put them together, I have 2 times 32. What you guys just did there was condensed it. You smushed it together. Yes, ma'am?
If we have like both log 4 and log 4, like obviously you wouldn't change it from log.
And you have different logs. If you do have different logs, you can't condense them or expand them. They're kind of like you consider them like terms.
Okay.
So now, guys, look, you took that. It was already pulled apart. So you smushed it together. So now it says to simplify it. So when I simplify this, I get log base 4 of, what's 32 times 2? 64, okay? Now we want to simplify. What does log 4 of 64 equal? Well, let's write that in exponential form. This becomes 4 to what power gives me 64? 4 to what power gives me 64? 3. Good. So when you simplify this question right here, you get the number 3. All right, let's look at B. We'll skip C for next week. Let's just look at B for a second, and then we're going to go to some more examples. It says log base 2, 80, log base 2, 5. Do you notice that the log base 2 is the same? So how can I rewrite it? I can just rewrite it with 1 log base 2. Good. And then it's what? 80 divided by, not infinity, 80 divided by 5, because division and multiplication go together. Subtraction. So subtraction becomes division when we're going to the opposite way. So now that you guys just took that and you condensed it. So now we can simplify this, because log 2 of 80 divided by 5 is the same thing as log 2 of 16. Now, if you're still trying to simplify, what this says is 2 to what power gives me 16? What's my answer? 2 times itself, how many times gives you 16? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is? Yep. Now that's simplifying. That's when you can get some sort of a nice, pretty answer. We'll come back to letter C next week. I just want you guys to kind of get the basics of this right now. So now let's go here. All right, we're expanding logarithms. A lot of times, guys, it won't tell you what to do. It'll just say condense or expand. But when I look at this, right, we're just pulling them apart and smushing them together. You're not going to get an answer of x equals 1 or something. How do I know? How would I know looking at this that I need to pull it apart, not try and smush it together? There's only one log. It's only written one time. So I need to say, oh, okay, I have to pull this apart. There's 2 terms that you're looking at, because 6 and x are being what? Multiplied. So I know that right here, since this is multiplication, as I pull them apart, I'm going to use addition. So what we're going to do is we're going to write log base 2 of 6, right? Plus, I'm going to replace that multiplication with a plus, and then what am I going to write? Log base 2 of what? X. Very good. Every single thing, whether it's a number or a letter, gets its own log. Do you see how you started off and it was kind of smushed together? But what we did was pull it apart. Questions? Questions at home? Nothing? Thank you. All right, let's look at the next one. Whoa, there's a lot going on here. Before you guys even try and tackle this, I personally would recommend that you do step by step. Don't try and do everything at one time. You guys are going to start to get a little more comfortable with this. You're going to be like, oh, I can do everything. But what do you notice in this? What's going on here in the parentheses? What do you guys see? I see multiplication. Good. So I know that I'm going to have to put an addition sign there. What else do you see? Okay, there's only one log, so we're going to have to write it out. But what else do you see going on in those parentheses? Exponents. I see exponents. What do exponents become? They become coefficients. Now, some of you, this is really going to click, and you're going to be like, oh, I can do this all in one step. I don't think that's a really good idea right now. But again, what do I know? So I'm going to just take the first step, and I'm going to say, okay, each letter gets its own log. So I'm going to write log 5 of x to the third. And what does this multiplication become? Addition. So I'm going to say plus log 5 of y to the 6th. Now, when you write this, when you expand, when you pull apart, you want everything to be linear, meaning no exponents. You guys just told me, because we identified this at the beginning, exponents become what? Coefficients. So I have one more step I have to do. This 3 needs to come out in front here, and this 6 needs to come right here. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 log 5x plus what? 6 log 5y. Was that you, Isabel? Good job. Very good. Now, guys, when we condense and expand, if it says simplify, it's going to be like the ones we just did where you get a number. But when it just tells us to condense or expand, this is what your answer should look like. You're either pulling it apart or you're smushing it together. All right? Now, this concept isn't terribly difficult, but if you don't practice it a bunch, it can get a little overwhelming. So let's look at the next one. We got a little more stuff going on, right? At first, you guys are like, ah, okay, let's just think for a second. Let's not do everything in one step. What do you see? What are some of the things you guys see? I see division. Okay, so immediately I'm going to say, okay, at some point, I'm going to have some subtraction, right? What else do you see? I see a square root. You guys remember the other day how we talked about rewriting square roots? Yes. So what would this square root be? What would C become?
1/3.
Very good, Vega. This would become 1/3, so I'm going to cross that out. I see one other thing. I do see the ln.
Is the AB being multiplied?
It is, because it's stuck together, right? So I see multiplication. That means I'm going to have addition. It's really good, guys, to go through and identify. There's only 3 things to identify. It's either going to be addition and like addition, multiplication go together. Division, subtraction go together. Exponents, coefficients go together. Can you guys see this? Okay, it's kind of hard to read. So now everything gets its own ln. So how many different letters do you see? 3. So how many times am I going to write ln? 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write ln of A. Then what? Plus, perfect. Ln of B. Then what? Minus, perfect. Ln of C to the what? To the 1/3. All right? Could you have gone ahead and written the 1/3 in front already? Yes, some of you are going to want to do that. But now I look and I say, okay, there's no exponents anywhere. Yes, there is. This 1/3 comes out in front. So this becomes natural log of A plus the natural log of B minus 1/3 the natural log of C. We okay? Vega, good job recognizing the 1/3. All right? Again, that's why I'm giving you guys time tomorrow to ask questions and to work on it in class. Let's look at this one. But before you even read what the directions say, does it look like you're going to condense this, smush it together, or does it look like you're going to pull it apart even more? We're going to condense it, right? We're going to condense because I see the log and the log written at the same time. Same log. So couple different ways you guys can do this. First of all, this stays just by itself because see how it's in parentheses. You don't separate that. But I see this 3 out in front. What do I know that my 3 is going to become? An exponent. Coefficients become exponents. I'm just going to draw myself a little picture. What do I know the 1/2 is going to become? An exponent. Okay, good. So let's just start. Let's go on one first little thing. I know that addition, since it's addition, what goes with addition? Multiplication. I know I'm going to turn that into multiplication. So I'm going to write log one time. When you're smushing it together, you're trying to condense to make it smaller. So I'm going to write log x cubed. And I'm just going to use the times, I'm just going to use a parenthesis. And then I have x plus 1 to the what power? To the 1/2, all right? Can I do a little more simplifying? What does that 1/2 really mean? Square root. So I'm going to rewrite this as log x cubed times the square root of x plus 1. Whoops, not 11. And that is your final answer. You're not trying to find out what x equals or anything like that. We're just either pulling it apart or smushing it back together. All right, look at the next one. You guys should be getting a little more familiar with this. What's the first thing you come to and you see and you're like, oh, wow, I have all what? They're all the same natural log? So that means I'm going to write ln one time. But when I see this 3, what is this 3 going to become? An exponent. What's that 1/2 going to become? A square root, but I'm just going to leave it as an exponent. And what is this 4 going to become? An exponent, right? All right. Now I see right here a plus sign. What's that plus sign going to turn into? Multiplication. Good. What's that minus sign going to turn into? Division. Good, guys. So let's just go through. We're at our first step. I'm going to write 1 ln. You can write it real big out in front if you want to. So I have s to the 3rd times, correct? Okay, so times t to the 1/2. And then what? Divided by, do you see how since I wrote the word division, you can look there and go, oh, divided by. And then I have t squared plus 1 to the what power? To the 4th power. Your ln just goes out in front. It does not go in the numerator, it goes out in front. If you want to write it like this, if you guys would rather write it, hang on. If you'd rather write like this, so it's out in the way front, that's fine. But I can do one more little thing to simplify. What's the one more little thing I can do? Yep. I have the natural log of s to the 3rd power times the square root of t divided by t squared plus 1 over 4. You are not multiplying that out on the bottom, nothing like that. All we're doing is either pulling apart or smushing together. How do we feel? Now, this next part, piece of cake. If you have a calculator, get a calculator out if you have one. This is called the change of base formula. Some of your calculators have a change of base formula already built into them. Some of them do not. If you would like to Google your calculator, if it has a change of base formula, perfect. If you would not like to do that, then you just use this basic change of base formula that I'm going to show you, and it's super duper easy, okay? We're going to go to this problem. It says, use the change of base formula and common or natural logs to evaluate. Let me show you how easy this is, all right? I have A is log base 8 over 5. The way that you do the change of base, does everyone see the log button in your calculator? Just the one that says log, L-O-G. What you're going to do is you put log of the number over log of whatever the little base is. In your calculator, you literally hit log 5 divided by log 8 and hit enter. You guys should get 0.7739. If you're not getting that, you guys need to let me know. So let's do the change of base here. My change of base for B, right? I have log base 9 of 20. Order is important, guys. If you do the wrong order, you're going to get the wrong number. How do I write this? What do I type on my calculator? Log what? Log 20, log of the big number divided by log of the little base. You don't hit any base, nothing in your calculator. You literally hit the word log and then put 20, close your parenthesis, divided by, hit log 9, close your parenthesis. What'd you get? 1.364. Okay. Well, I'm going to do an additional example. I want you guys to do... we'll talk about it later. No worries. All right, guys, that's it for 4.4. I'm going to upload this video in a second. But what I want you guys to do right now is pull up the 4.4 practice.